Live from Auburn, Alabama, it's a Thursday night of SEC Hoops. #1 South Carolina, undefeated, takes their school record winning streak to the Plains and Neville Arena to take on the Auburn Tigers. Thrilled to have you with us as we get set to potentially see history as the Gamecocks, for the first time in school history, could win their 30th straight game, the third longest in SEC history. Good evening, welcome courtside, joined by the Hall of Famer, Coach Joe Champy. I'm Wiley Ballard, happy to have you along for the ride. And Coach, do you believe in the idea of a trap game? Because South Carolina coming off a win over UConn on Sunday, a huge win on the road, and they've got undefeated LSU waiting for them this Sunday.
Certainly can be, but the championship formula that Coach Staley has put together of accountability, of one game at a time, and we're here to win an SEC championship. Well, it starts with beating Auburn tonight, so any other situation without Coach Staley, I would consider it, but not with her coaching ability.
Well, speaking of Aaliyah Boston, she's been one of the top players in the country for some time now, and she is playing as well as ever right now.
She certainly is. As you see her taking the ball to basket, she can shoot it on 3 levels, but more importantly, her resilience to play the game. Against Connecticut, only 3 points in the first half, comes back with a total of 26, but more importantly, 14 in the fourth quarter and 12 in a row to put South Carolina in double-digit lead.
South Carolina with her first ever win on the road at Connecticut. Aaliyah Boston, her 8th consecutive double-double. She's the reigning SEC Player of the Week. So the task is tall for Auburn, but it only got more difficult today as we learned that they will be without the services of Aisha Coulibaly. And without Coulibaly and honestly Scott Grayson, they have struggled this year.
They certainly have, but with Aisha out of the game tonight, Coulibaly, you're losing the strength of the inside. And you play the game from the inside out, both offensively and defensively. And in those three straight wins, she was averaging 22 points a game. So it's a big loss for this Auburn team.
Victoria Saxton wins the jump ball over Romy Levy, and we are off and running. South Carolina looking for their 30th straight win. It would set a new school record.
And Auburn attacking with the zone defense, and South Carolina taking that ball in the paint to attack the zone.
Fletcher's jumper from inside the free throw line won't fall, and it's the freshman Sydney Shaw with the rebound for Auburn. A look at the starters for Auburn. We mentioned Romy Levy getting her first start in over a month. Jakayla Johnson's now started 10 straight for the Tigers. She'll be at point guard tonight. That's a new assignment for her.
And South Carolina in their basic defensive aggressive man that tries to take you out of your rhythm.
Zaya Cook floats it over to the wing as you get a look at South Carolina starters. No changes there. Boy, they got a great effort from their point guard, Raven Johnson, off the bench on Sunday, but it is still the veteran Kira Fletcher starting at the point tonight.
It certainly is. It's a team and a bench that's averaging 37 points in SEC play, so they have a 10-player rotation, which spells success in the SEC.
A few one-and-done possessions for both sides so far.
But that's a key for Auburn because this South Carolina team leads the nation in rebounding, so a key for Auburn to keep them off the boards.
They go on the low entry, Saxton up with it, and she will draw the contact and head to the line.
That all started with Saxton pinning back the Auburn defender and holding forward inside. Receives the pass, shot fake, and draws the foul.
I beg your pardon, that was called on the floor.
I tell you what, I'm glad you and I are over here.
Yes. Kira Fletcher inbounds to Cook in the short corner. South Carolina as a team shooting 47% from the field. That's second best in the SEC, but most of those shots come in the painted area as Fletcher enters that way and around and out. Offensive board for the Gamecocks. Saxton, I believe that time she's going to go to the line.
And that's what they do best, Wiley, in terms of they shot and they go up to the boards and just so aggressive. But right there, Saxton just draws the foul. They don't mind playing in contact, and they don't mind drawing the contact to get the shot up.
And both those fouls on Carissa Richardson. Richardson will head to the bench. Maya Pratcher, freshman from Memphis, checks in. And coach, without Coulibaly and without Precious Johnson, neither of whom are available tonight, it's already a thin post for Auburn.
And to lose Richardson, who has been playing so well this past week, that's a big problem for this Auburn team right now.
There's Dawn Staley, well known in the world of basketball, her 15th season at South Carolina. And the press applied by Fletcher, trying to get the ball to Kayla Johnson, and Auburn able to do it with a few seconds to spare.
South Carolina once again defensively takes you out of your tempo, tries to take you to your weaknesses, and right there they travel on Sydney Shaw.
And tonight, Sydney Shaw, just a freshman, as Fletcher brings it across. Coach Staley describes Kiera Fletcher a little more of a methodical point guard. The group they bring off the bench a little more up-tempo.
And that's true. And it's you know, to have a point guard that stays under control like Fletcher, but then when Johnson comes into the game, you have one that picks up the tempo and gets everybody in a transition game.
And more second chance points for South Carolina after the missed three from Beal. It's Saxton with the stick back. South Carolina rebounds more of their own misses than their opponents. And a lot of that is the reason they dominate the paint. There's an entry pass down low. Let's say touched by the fingertips, I believe, of Sydney Shaw. Also, it was just Levy thrown out of bounds.
That's a good thought. Well, Levy saw her going, because the rule is when you're overplayed coming back to the level of the ball, you're going to go back door. And she stopped on the way to the basket, but Levy had already made the bounce pass.
Coach Johnny Harris, second season at Auburn, took down 3 top 25 teams a year ago, including 2 in SEC play. Good contest by Levy, and it belongs to Auburn. Great work by Romy Levy on the defensive end. Here comes Honesty Scott Grayson, curling in and gets the lay-in off the window.
Auburn will need a lot from Honesty Scott Grayson today, and she realized that she's that redshirt senior that has played the game, and she's improved her game, Wiley, in terms of she's got the long-range shot now, but she's a creative playmaker, and she'll create some shots that you're just concerned about her body balance and everything, but she makes it go.
And Aaliyah Boston can score from just about anywhere down in the paint. She hits in the free throw line.
She certainly can, but if you're Auburn and you want to have an opportunity to play in this game and contest, you've got to keep the passes out of the paint.
Sydney Shaw with some space, triggers a 3 and swishes it.
That'll give her some confidence in her game, and right now you have to take what South Carolina is giving you.
So after a three-pointer from Shaw, Saxton back out to Boston. That's been a real problem area for Auburn, when their three-point shooting in conference play, shooting just 22%. They hit just 1 3 in the game against Arkansas on Sunday. Cook to answer. They're going to get Pratcher, I believe, for the foul that time on the second chance. Yep, that's her first foul.
As you mentioned, the long-range shooting of this Auburn team, and only making 1 against Arkansas, it's just a situation where you have to have good shooters shoot the 3, not everyone. And that's the problem in this league now. It just you want to be able to drive and dish, but if your game is in the paint, shoot the 2.
And after the foul on Pratcher, Saxton hits the first free throw, and Oyindamola Akinbolawa has checked in.
I'm glad you had to say that.
Akinbolawa appearing in just her 7th game of the season. That just goes to show how thin this Auburn post is here after Saxton hits each of those 2 free throws.
You talk about the post situation, and Precious Johnson, a transfer that came in from Texas, and then with Koulibaly. But in league play, and it's when you play over 30 games a season, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and you have to take care of your body. And when you get into February now, you just got to slow down and prepare for March.
Already a 4th foul on Auburn. We haven't reached the midpoint of the first quarter. They'll get Sydney Shaw for that. One more look.
Well, the one thing about this, you see her taking the ball into the paint in your body. You got to stay between the ball and the basket. Shaw's got to stay down in the stance and not let them have the lane.
And Saya Cook, South Carolina's leading scorer, is now on the board. see 16 points per game for Cook there in conference play. That's just 10th in the SEC. That's because South Carolina gets such balanced scoring.
They certainly do. And because of that, and that bench that is so big that you just get the runouts, just like that quick shot there. They're going to challenge Auburn with their, just with their conditioning right now to run the floor, but Auburn has to find the ball. They let the ball get down the floor too quickly that time.
South Carolina has made 4 baskets, 4 different players. There's Bree Beal on the board. It's Shaw. 7 to shoot. See if Onasukak Grayson can create down the lane. Tough challenge going up against Boston. And it belongs to South Carolina. Romy Levy might have caught a finger to the eye. Gamecocks in transition, float it down. And Beal with another quick 2. These are high percentage shots South Carolina's getting.
They certainly are. And once again, I would try to slow them down on the first pass. When they get the rebound, they get the kick out, you have to find Fletcher right then and there and slow her down, or this will be a long night for this Auburn team.
8-0 run for South Carolina. Shaw trying to snap it, can't. And Boston beats out Akinbolawa for the rebound. Boston, just the 15th 3 she's tried, and Fletcher and Levy collide. And I believe, yes, it's going to be on Kira Fletcher. So foul on South Carolina. A 9-point lead for the #1 ranked Gamecocks as we hit our first media timeout of the night. Big time showdown coming on Sunday afternoon. LSU, South Carolina, 1 versus 3, both undefeated. And not far behind, Tennessee and Ole Miss trying to chase them down.
What a challenge, and what a game that'll be on Sunday, with LSU coming in just to prove, their worth right now, and they've been playing well. Kim Mulkey does a great job, but South Carolina is the standard in the SEC right now in women's basketball, and going over to South Carolina will be a tough task for Kim Mulkey and her group.
Yes, it will. So Mississippi State, big win over Tennessee earlier as well this week, so an exciting time of the season. And speaking of winning streaks, how about Tennessee? 39 straight wins. That's the longest SEC win streak to open a season. Of course, they went undefeated that year in 97-98. Then after Tennessee, we've also got Mississippi State. They won 32 straight. Just a few years ago, there you see Coach Harris, an associate head coach on that team, lost the national championship game. And then next on the list, Coach, how about 1988-89, the Auburn Tigers and Joe Champy, 28
How about that
straight.
guy, hanging on the rim?
Look at that.
How about that?
There's no ladder beneath you, is there?
That was a great win. That was celebrating the SEC tournament championship.
And LSU, South Carolina, a showdown. One of those is going to be snapped tomorrow. Both undefeated. Who will extend their streak? It'll be in Columbia, South Carolina, Sunday, 2 o'clock Eastern.
And you talk about that game, you talk about success in the league and in the NCAA tournament, it comes with bench production. And right now you look at South Carolina averaging 37 points from their bench per game. That's outstanding. Their second team could probably be very successful in the SEC. But to me, I like LSU. I like everything they do. Kim does a great job defensively, and their offensive schemes are good. But the South Carolina team, with the size that they have, they make you alter your shots. They put you in a position to just play uncomfortable, and they take advantage of cleaning the glass. It's one and done when you play against them.
Akinbolawa's shot missed, but she takes it back to the rim. Nice take there by the freshman from Nigeria.
Should give her some confidence, the ability to shoot it, go and get the rebound, and then put yourself in a position to knock it down. She's got to feel good, and maybe she doesn't even know who South Carolina is.
Gamecocks trying to get it inside, and Akinbolawa is getting introduced to South Carolina.
That's Cardozo.
Yeah, Cardoso.
At 6'7", her ability to pin the defense down low and receive the pass, it's a tough task to stop this inside game of South Carolina.
Camila Cardoso had a team high 16 points in their win over Auburn earlier this year. That was back in early January, a 94-42 Gamecock triumph. And Cardoso swats away the shot, but at the end of the shot clock, Levy gets it off, and that one with effort by Honesty Scott Gratian as he taps it loose.
Auburn's going to need a lot of energy and effort because that's how South Carolina plays every possession.
Elbow jumper from Shaw, just short. Cardoso the rebound that time with two hands. And here comes Raven Johnson accelerating the pace.
And just like you said, the pace picks up because of Raven Johnson at points.
Wing three, bottoms from Bree Hall. Sophomore from Dayton, Ohio. Didn't score against Connecticut. Played only 4 minutes. Coach Staley said we probably could have played her a little more, but the way the game was going, they felt good about the group they had out there.
Well, they have enough weapons to keep out on the floor, but they had Raven Johnson out there for 36 minutes at points. So.
And Cardoso with another block. Johnson, the freshman, redshirt freshman, kicks out. This time it's Bree Beal. Her three-pointer short. But Boston, the offensive rebound, she turns it over. Honestly, Scott Grayson.
You won't see many forced errors by Aaliyah Boston, but right there, a bad pass back to Johnson.
And Scott Grayson's jumper won't fall. Under a minute to play in the first quarter. South Carolina already a double-digit lead. Aaliyah Boston misses the layup. And Akinbolawa with the rebound. And a quick shot on the run, and Sanaya Wells can't get it to fall.
Yeah, Sanaya Wells has to be careful. That's what South Carolina wants to do. They want you to push up the tempo because of their pressure defense, and then they can come down and get methodical with their offense.
Johnson, air ball on the jumper. Shot clock is dead. Fed ahead to Levy. Can she catch up to it? Keeps it in bounds. Levy maybe a little winded after that. Looks like Auburn wants to hold for a final shot here in the first quarter. Kick out, Levy, three-pointer off the mark. Cardoso the rebound. That'll end the first quarter. South Carolina holds Auburn to below 20% shooting in the first 10 minutes. They lead by a dozen. South Carolina, a 12-point lead on the road against the Auburn Tigers. Happy to have you with us on this Thursday night. And Coach, the story for the first 10 minutes has been the story most of the season for South Carolina. Their defense is just overwhelming with their length.
Their length and their ability to pressure the ball. What they do better than most teams, they're going to put pressure on the ball, but those other four players are guarding the ball from their positions. A lot of teams will, just when they're playing in their man defense, are going to be worried about their man, but this team with their length, they alter your shots, they force you to play to your weaknesses, and then they control the paint and the glass.
And not only do those three stats rank in the top 5 in Division I, it doesn't include that South Carolina averages close to 10 blocks a game. There's no other team in the country that averages more than 7. And furthermore, they defend the 3 at almost as impressive a rate as they do the field in general.
It certainly is. And when you see when they hold their defensive field goal percentage is 30, as a team, you just hope you can keep them under 40 or close to 40. But that mark right there, just that's a championship formula right there with defense and rebounding.
And they're also +9 on the glass through the first 10 minutes. And 10 of their 19 points have come in the paint.
And right there, points in the paint. That's the key. Now they're going to come out and show you a little zone on the first possession. You were talking about their man defense. We were talking about their man defense, and they're in the zone right now.
A few new faces on the floor for Auburn. Marshawn Bostic with the ball in her hands. Kicks it over to Caitlin Duhan. But that's going to be an offensive foul on Bostic.
And that's what a young team will do when you see the zone. They went inside the zone and couldn't get that ball quickly reversed to their teammates on the opposite side. So you have to stay half distance and be in a position where you can make quick passes against the zone.
Three-point try for Ami here. Off the front of the rim, and Bostic's looking to race ahead. Full speed, she gets the lay-in.
Great shot by Marshawn Bostic. And if anything, transition has to be a key to Auburn's success. Now they're sitting back in the 2-3 zone.
Bostic had 6 points on Sunday against Arkansas in the 54-51 loss. Gamecocks, as we mentioned earlier, coming off an impressive road win at Connecticut, a sold-out crowd up in Stores. And underneath the rim, and Cardozo showing some mobility.
Right there, the mobility and the agility. Take the ball underneath the basket, pivot, and be on balance, and just bank the ball in for an easy 2. South Carolina staying in this 1-3-1 zone right now. Auburn's got to be patient with it.
Yeah, that's a tough matchup for Bostic going against 6'7" Cardozo.
That's what I meant about being patient. You don't take the ball and hit to 6'7".
Bree Hall with their bucket. She's got 5.
And one thing, Wiley, about a zone defense, once you see it, there's 2 things. You don't move the ball enough, and you don't screen it enough. And that's what Auburn needs to do. They need to screen the zone and break down the defense up on top and make someone else just pick up the ball.
Why is it so hard to screen against the zone defense?
A lot of people don't have patience against it, and you don't move the ball enough, you don't move people. But the one key is screening it. Because that way, when I screen the top, the point guard up here, okay, who's going to pick up the ball now? Somebody's got to come up, and then you have a release down the sideline or on the baseline. But so many teams do not screen it. And that's playing to the advantage of the zone defense. Yes. And South Carolina, with the size they have in the lineup, Don Staley comes up with surprises all the time to make her team a little bit better.
And that was a lob entry, and then Cardozo feeds it off to Fagan on the weak side.
Their size just is overwhelming Auburn now because of the lack of post players.
Again, Auburn without Aisha Coulibaly tonight, unavailable due to injury. Precious Johnson also not available.
And Richardson in foul trouble.
Yes. 6-0 run for South Carolina, make it 8-0. And Sanaya Fagan, the sophomore from Ellenwood, Georgia, down in the Atlanta area. Tons of talent. She's the future star of that South Carolina team.
She certainly is.
But it is an 18-point lead. Total of 7 different Gamecocks have scored tonight.
We talk about transition, but that pass, you know, is by error, by ground, and by error is being successful for the South Carolina team right now.
So 2.5 minutes into the second quarter, South Carolina already an 18-point advantage. Camila Cardozo, one of the most impactful bigs on any bench in the country. And maybe forget the bench coach. She's one of the top post players in the nation, regardless of starting her bench.
And look at her mobility, agility to come underneath the basket, catch the ball and bounce, but her dominance inside. I mean, I've watched her all season long, but right now, and she's carefree about it. She's going to go in, she's going to play her game, she's prepared mentally and physically, but the way she runs the floor, the way she blocks shots, it's nothing forced. She makes you alter your shot. When you go up, she goes up and blocks it, and then great outlet pass, too, to get her team running. And
Coach Staley mentioned it in their win over Connecticut. Without Camila's effort, they do not win that game. With how slow Boston and Cook started offensively, they still impacted the game in other areas, but Cardozo was critical in that win over Connecticut. She had 17 points, team high 11 rebounds, and fouled out.
And that's what we talked about when I asked Coach at shoot-around today about playing roles. I've watched her coach over the years, but this team, they're accountable, but more importantly, the role playing. They're unselfish with moving the ball. They're unselfish on defense. Everybody works hard every possession. They're focused, and the results are a championship season.
And 29 straight wins. South Carolina looking to set a school record tonight with a 30th consecutive win, daring Wells to shoot, and she answers the challenge.
Well, if you don't know what to do, shoot it. And she's a good shooter, but the zone will slow you down, put you in a position where you're just going to give open looks, and a lot of players are hesitant to take those shots.
Auburn's already hit more three-pointers tonight than they did all of Sunday afternoon against Arkansas. Down low to Fagan. Ooh, halfway down, and Akinbalawa draws the foul on Fagan.
When you're in a position offensively to move in, and she's that point guard moving, but she sets her feet, she gets her feet underneath, a great release, and she knocks down a three. Auburn has to stay patient, even though the score is a big disadvantage right now. You got to find your shots.
And gets the hometown roll. quick 5 points for Sanaya Wells.
Well, if you're Sanaya now, you should have confidence. You're a senior. Just keep looking for your shot, and teammates set her up.
Bree Hall over to Cardoso. Amihir. Cross-court pass. Hall gets her defender in the air twice. A lot of long passes for the Gamecock. Shot clock running out. Fagan's got to go up, and she doesn't get it off. A shot clock violation. And a roar from Koulibaly supporting her teammates.
South Carolina being a little too unselfish with that. The two players had an opportunity to shoot it, and they let it go. So great defensive stop by this Auburn team. South Carolina back in their man defense.
And they're about to have a man-for-man substitution. 5 players at the scorer's table for the Gamecocks. Pratcher, crossover, gets the screen, jumper, too strong, and over the backboard.
At least Pratcher got a shot that reflected her ability to shoot. It's a shot she's comfortable with. It's just you have to have teammates rebounding that ball. And once again, South Carolina spreads you out. They force you out of the paint, and you take outside shots, and then you don't have an opportunity to rebound.
So South Carolina, a brand new line on the floor. Three-pointer corner, and Fletcher got it. Make a part of 2, just inside the line.
Well, here they come back in with their starting lineup now. So you're in a position, Auburn, that they're just going to wear you down physically, but more importantly, it's going to be a mental wear down also.
Three-pointer rattles out. Boston the board. Already 5 rebounds now for Aaliyah Boston. And on the floor, going to be a foul on Sanaya Wells.
It's baseline out of bounds right now, what you're seeing. And then got to be quick with the size that South Carolina has inside.
Boston, the high post down the right side of the lane. Man, she's good on the ball.
She is. I mean, the scouting report on her, she didn't put it on the floor for 2 dribbles, and she takes it under control to the basket. So defensively, when you're beat on 1 dribble, that means you're too close.
And Kira Fletcher crashes into the screen set by Akimbalawa, and that's going to be a foul. One more look here.
You know, South Carolina plays aggressive. So once again, looked like the screen was set, but because they're so aggressive and the shoulder was turned a little bit, but was it turned because of the contact that turned your body? It's just like when you go vertical for a shot and the offensive player runs into your chest and your arms come down. When they came down for a reason.
Fletcher's long 2 doesn't fall. Shaw curling underneath on the reverse. Fletcher will push. Great bounce pass. Field retrieves the Wild behind the back from Saxton.
Wiley, it's impressive. The transition of the South Carolina team, it's not 1 or 2 players, it's all 5. When you have that on a team that all 5 can beat your 5 down the floor, you're going to have opportunities. And the way they pass the ball with seeing their teammate, that's a key to securing easy baskets.
How much of that is a product of having a deep bench and maybe fresher legs as you move into a game versus just a mindset and a culture?
Well, it's having a deep bench because you have fresh legs and fresh minds when you're in there. But more importantly, with the coach that Don Staley is, and emphasizing, running the floor. As we watched shoot around today, they were running the floor. That's the first thing they started off with, was that.
Going to overturn the call.
And a miscue.
Yes.
Miscue by someone.
Just the 3rd turnover of the night for South Carolina.
I like Auburn. They're setting that high screen and trying to get their ball handler into the paint.
Coming up on 3 minutes without any points for Auburn. Trying to find something here. The end of the shot clock. Shaw's three spills in.
As a freshman, she is impressive. She knows how to find her shot. She handles the ball well. And I've been told they don't like her at point guard. But if I've got a young lady that can shoot like that with some size, but maybe she likes to play the two guard, the shooting guard also.
Offensive rebound, controlled by Jacayla Johnson. Scott Grayson gets a screen, hangs, can't hit. More look at this three-pointer from Sydney Shaw, shooting 35% from the field this year.
She uses this screen well. She comes off the screen. She takes a dribble past the screener. Usually you like your ball handler to take two dribbles past that screener so the defense can't catch up, but knocks down the shot.
Zia Cook to Boston. Ooh. Look at that face from Boston. She doesn't know what happened there. She way overshot her target.
But what you saw there was Saxton setting a screen for Boston to knock down that shot against the zone.
How hot is Shaw? Not that hot. Cook, 1-on-2, splits the D, and finishes. Two-time All-American Zia Cook showing us why.
Well, that's the key. She slowed down her dribble. She didn't go 100 miles an hour. She went down about 60, did a crossover dribble, splits the defense, and makes the shot. That's why she's an All-American.
Top 15 in the SEC in scoring. Pratcher has it swatted over her head. Saxton ahead to Cook, now going 100 miles per hour, and she gets to the rim.
There's the time to put the foot on the metal, right? Well-coached team, a team that's well-versed in the basics. When you see a team that's successful, undefeated like they are, they execute the basics consistently, and you see that in their defense and their offense.
Not sure if that was partially tipped. We'll say it was an air ball, so it belongs to South Carolina. One more look at Zia Cook driving.
Look at her dribbling now. It changes pace, crossover dribble, seeks contact and goes through and lifts it up on the basket. Just an outstanding effort.
Over 1,600 career points now at South Carolina. Elbow jumper cash. Victoria Saxton.
And that's something Auburn's got to cover. You got to cover the elbow. That's where South Carolina's trying to attack. You've got to take that away so you have an opportunity.
Levy wasn't ready for the pass. Cook and Shaw. And Shaw said, if you're going to get two, you're going to earn from the free throw line, as she'll be called for the foul.
She split the ball now. She just rides the defender, and Shaw does a great job of blocking the shot, but called for the foul. But if you watch that slowly, you saw that Cook seeks the contact. She went into Shaw, and she made Shaw make a decision now, and she went into her chest with that forearm and shoulder, and Shaw gets called for it. And Cook quietly goes to the line and knocks down two.
Are you saying she's pulled that move once or twice before?
I think so. I would think so.
Playing in her 124th career game. Not only is this a talented Gamecock club, but it's an experienced one.
And it is. And it's, Coach Staley said, I asked her about some situations, and she said, Joe, he says, these kids are easy to coach. They coach themselves. And she says they're great practice ball players, and they play with that competitive spirit all the time. They're concerned about winning every drill they do in practice, and it shows here in the game situation.
Levy with the two. Under a minute to play in the first half. South Carolina in plenty of control. Boston hanging over Scott Grayson. Receives the pass, and there's just not a whole lot, honestly, Scott Grayson can do.
You can't when you're that deep in there, and they're smart enough to pin. Boston knows how to pin the defender, and she receives a great pass.
And as has been the story all season long, South Carolina dominating the paint. Two shots coming for Marshawn Bostic with 25 seconds left in the first half.
Once again, you see the fire in this Auburn team right now. They're outmatched. They're in terms of the size, and then the quickness, and then the conditioning. You can talk all you want, but when you have a bench of 10 players, 10-player rotation, that's a challenge.
And it's so hard to get to the line against South Carolina as well because they don't need to foul with the length they have. That's the first free throw Auburn's taken tonight. Here's the second.
And that's so true. They alter their shots. They're smart enough that they're not going to try to block every shot like some players do. But this team is so disciplined. And the other side of that, Wiley, is, hey, if I get in foul trouble, there's somebody replacing me. Yes. And I may not get back in this game.
South Carolina can hold for the final shot. Kiera Fletcher, the first-year point guard transfer from Georgia Tech. And look at how balanced the scoring has been for South Carolina. 40 points here in the first half. Not a single one in double figures. And at the end of the first half, South Carolina has doubled up Auburn, 42-21. Kiera Fletcher with the bucket in the final seconds. And the Gamecocks, coming off a huge win against Connecticut, pick up right where they left off in SEC play with a commanding 21-point lead. South Carolina 20 minutes away from setting a new school record with their 30th straight win. South Carolina has won 13 straight against Auburn, and they're poised for a 14th after a strong first half, Coach. And they got balanced scoring and great defense all the way around.
They alter shots. They attack the boards. You're in a position where the South Carolina team shares the ball both inside and outside to their teammates. They run the floor well, and they can knock down shots. But when you share the ball and get open shots, this team with their great inside presence now has perimeter shooting. That's a tough task for any team.
8 different players with at least 4 points. Nobody in double figures for the Gamecocks. And as we've expected, they have dominated the glass and the paint. As a team, they're averaging 46 points per night in the paint. And they more than double their opponent's scoring output when it comes to points in the paint. As a high pass from Cook through the hands of Fletcher, and she collides with Scott Grayson.
And that's mind-boggling when you say 46 points in the paint. That defeats you as an opponent from the get-go. But Auburn's got to find a way now to stay composed and be competitive in this game, because South Carolina is not going to have a letdown.
Well, if you're looking for progress from the Auburn side, last time these two teams met in Columbia last month, it was a 32-point deficit at halftime. Tigers down by 21, their opening possession of the second half. Honestly, Scott Grayson, tough look. It's short, and Boston seizes the rebound. That's her 7th board tonight.
And like you said, it was different at South Carolina, but you have a little bit more maturity on this Auburn team now because you were playing so many young ball players. But right now, when you're in February, you understand how to play in the SEC. Really? And you have to value every possession, and I say that, I'm repeating myself with that, but with your effort and energy, you have to stay competitive.
Love the offensive rebound. South Carolina, they've been in their fair share of routes this year.
Because they're going to play for 40 minutes. You have to be aware of that. You can't wave a flag. You got to keep playing against this team.
And now Sydney Shaw's got an Auburn best 8 points. She's matched her season average. Good hands by Johnson, but Cook still collects the pass. And somebody reached in and made contact with Cook.
And Richardson's like keeping her head down because she doesn't want it called on her, but they're undecided. If I'm Levy, I'm raising my hands to help your teammates.
That was Carissa Richardson inside, who played only 3 minutes after picking up 2 fouls early in the first half, and they have a review here to see who that foul was on.
The video.
There is a timeout on the floor. This will be a full timeout. The previous play is under review. This is a full.
Our officiating crew: Dee Cantor, Angelica Suffren, and Madge Forsberg. Old friend of yours, D. Cancer, the one making this call.
It really looks like it was Levy.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow. So it's going to be on Carissa Richardson. That's her third foul, and she's played less than 5 minutes tonight.
Yeah.
So after the review, we will step aside. Back in a moment from Neville Arena in Auburn, South Carolina up big. Well, on a night which Auburn is shorthanded in their forward position, Carissa Richardson has struggled to stay out of foul trouble. Just picked up her third foul. She has played less than 5 minutes tonight for Auburn. And Coach, what did you see here?
Well, I think Romy Levy pushes her into Richardson. Richardson's getting out of the way, so I thought it would be number 11, not 33. My concern, and I love the women's game, I love the men's game. The one change I would like to see is give these players 6 fouls. That way, you don't take away, your game plan, your ability, and shortening a young lady or a young man's opportunity to play in a 40-minute game.
So Cook misses the first free throw, hits the second, and another developing storyline so far for Auburn offensively. It's not just that their shots have been altered, but they haven't had the ball movement you'd expect to see. No assists on 9 made field goals tonight.
You say no assists and only 6 turnovers, but the thing is, they disrupt you so much and put you in a position that when you come down, you're going to take those hurried shots because of their pressure defense.
Meanwhile, as you see, assists on more than 2/3 of the buckets for South Carolina tonight. Fletcher looking to make it 14 assists, and she will. Just the second three-pointer of the season for Kiera Fletcher.
And Coach Harris is just shaking your head because you had to have a game plan that crowded the paint, and Auburn's trying to do that, and South Carolina's knocking down those threes today.
And an answer from Sydney Shaw is having a spectacular performance. The freshman rising to the occasion.
Well, hopefully she'll grow up tonight, but then as we go back on defense as you're Auburn, and we're talking about it, here comes Fletcher right down the floor, and no one touches her.
Shaw, crossover, step back, and Fletcher the rebound. Kiera Fletcher didn't get much of a chance to play against Connecticut the way Raven Johnson was running things, especially defensively.
I was just going to mention that to you. I think Fletcher now, after what she read in the paper and what she heard from her coach about how Johnson picked up the pace of the game and played 36 minutes at Connecticut, she's starting to pick up the pace of her game.
I think a shot clock issue here stops play. Tomorrow, Friday Night Heights rolls on from Neville Arena in Auburn as Suni Lee and the number 5 Tigers host Haley Bryant and number 9 LSU. You can always watch it live on the ESPN app as well. And there's Darian Goldberg, a Auburn gymnast, taking in tonight's game, getting ready mentally for tomorrow night's big performance. 7 seconds to shoot. Cook through Akinbolawa, and a foul. And they're going to put that on Caitlin Duhan, who's going to be charged with the foul.
Caitlin Duhan, early on in the season for this Auburn team, contributed quite a bit with her offense and her rebounding. And she's sort of been silent in SEC play. But right there, what I saw was, definite foul.
No gray area on that one.
No, not at all.
Duhan, freshman from Houston, Texas, part of that top 25 recruiting class for Auburn. And South Carolina defensively continuing to just wreak havoc on their opponents this year. Can applying that aggressive pressure. And I like the way you put it, Coach. Just they force you to play uncomfortably.
They do, and they switch you. They have enough quickness to switch everything, and that's And that's a great job, of taking the ball to the basket by Duhan, but that's why they don't have any assists. They force you just to attack the basket if you can.
And Akimbalawa draws the foul to be charged on Aaliyah Boston.
And it's uncharacteristic of Leah Boston to reach in and try to steal the ball away and get called for the foul.
Yeah, that's kind of the hope, though, for Auburn. Some of these freshmen getting some playing time. Akimbalawa, Sydney Shaw, Caitlin Duhan. I mean, these are some valuable experiences taking on a team that is the standard in the sport right now.
That's for sure. And with, honestly, Scott Grayson up on top, you'll see someone that likes to create her shot, but an ability to create, but she has a good handle and a good feel for the game to get it to her teammates.
Honestly, Scott Grayson in her third year at Auburn, she's closing in on 1,000 points as a Tiger. With her 2 points tonight, she's at 970 as an Auburn player, and miscommunication there on the inbounds.
A physical play,
yep.
And Auburn is questioning that, but that's the style of ball that South Carolina is consistent in the ability they're going to pressure you. You're not going to come through the lane without receiving contact.
No, and I think that was something that Connecticut heard a lot about, or talked a lot about on Sunday after the game, when Coach Ariema had some criticisms for the officials and how physical South Carolina played, and Coach Staley addressed some of those too on her coach's show.
She had a rebuttal.
Yeah, she did, and that's really life in the SEC. It's a physical game. Duhan off-balance floater, well short. Beal's got the board. Gamecock shooting over 50% from the field tonight. Zaya Cook, a triple, yes.
And that was just rotation by the Auburn team. They had to help the helper. Duhan had to go down and help on Saxton down below, and that's South Carolina for you. They reversed the ball until they found the open player, and Cook is one of their top scorers. As a matter of fact, she is their top scorer.
Shooting 36% from three this year. She and Aaliyah Boston were both named as midseason members of the Naismith team for their performance in the first half of conference play. And we approach the month of March. Duhan off-balance jumper. Boston an easy board for her. She's now got 8 rebounds. Down low to Saxton, left it short on the layup. Levy's got the board.
Good hustle by Auburn to get back and stop that transition basket.
And honestly, Scott Grayson draws the foul on Beal. And with a little over 4 minutes to play in the third quarter, we will step aside. South Carolina cruising to a 30th consecutive win. Gamecocks have won a lot of games over the past several years. In fact, they're 116-8 in the last 4 seasons. But how about 3 straight wins over Gino Auriemma in that time, Coach? One of 4 coaches in the history of the sport to do that since 1995, at least. And that's quite a group Dawn Staley is alongside now with that win on Sunday.
Obviously, she's in high cotton.
Yes.
with only 3 other coaches to do it. But that's a tough task. It's a tough task to beat Gino at any time, especially at their place.
Yes.
But consistent, you went on the road with defense, and you went with rebounding, but more importantly, the resilience of this team to understand their approach to the game, their accountability, their roles, and just their level of confidence of going out on the court and playing.
South Carolina, maybe the hottest team in all of sports right now, having won 29 straight, although the Philadelphia Eagles might have something to say about that, right?
Well, she's concerned about the Eagles, and certainly she would be, coaching at Temple and being a Philadelphia lady. But right now she's got an important game on Sunday at 2, and then another important game at 6 when her Eagles play. But she, I asked her about our invitation to the party.
Yes.
She's at Super Bowl party, but I think there was silence when I asked about it.
Well, I think if you're willing to make the drive over there, I'm sure she'd be happy to accommodate you.
Sure.
Now, so long as South Carolina wins on Sunday.
That's true.
She did mention that everyone's going to be there, but if we lose, I might not be there. I'm like, Coach, aren't you hosting the party? She said, well, yeah, technically.
Yeah.
But going back to that win over Connecticut, Coach, I love the anecdote she shared with us the day before in the hotel at the lunch line.
Yeah.
When Aaliyah Boston was right in front of her, and Coach Staley said, "Are we going to win tomorrow?" And Boston says, "Oh, we're going to win." That's Scott Grayson with the steal and lays it in. Well, that's the type of confidence South Carolina has right now. Going into UConn, oh, we're going to win.
And that's just, well, if you know anything about Dawn's playing career, I mean, she was that determining factor on that Virginia team, and for the Olympics, she's just that gritty player that understands the game. But you have to play it with confidence when you play at the highest level and play for championships. And that's what she's, has with this team right now.
And Zaya Cook, add that to the highlight reel. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Our jaws hit the floor as well.
Yeah. A few ankles broken on that.
Yes. Cook now with 8 points in the third quarter. She's had 6 quarters this year where she scored double figures. That's the most on the South Carolina team. Again, as balanced as they are, she's one of the few players that occasionally will just take over.
Because she can.
Yes. 7 seconds to shoot. Levy on Cook. Levy's long three. Nailed the board.
And excuse me, when I said she can, it's because of her ability of the shots she can make, but also of her coach giving her that green light.
This quarter a little more balanced. South Carolina 15, Auburn 11 in this third period. Honestly, Scott Grayson taking on the 6'7" Cardoso, and Boston must have caught the hands of Romy Levy. That'll put Levy at the line. But one more look, Zaya Cook, she had some pretty serious hoop mixtapes back in high school. This is right up there with them on Sanaya Wells.
What a move. I mean, that's just the balance and the step back and the footwork. Your shot all starts with your legs, and she had those toes pointing to the basket, the ball in the shooting pocket, and just the great release. She has 15 points tonight, and right on her average. And you love to have an outside threat, and you have so many threats on the inside, but Cook on the outside now provides just every team wants to defend him from the paint out, and what I mean by that is zone them and keep them out of the paint, but she can break that down easily.
And that time, Letitia Mehier with the lay-in. Mehar's got her first points. That's now 9 different Gamecocks who have scored tonight. And 8 different players for South Carolina with at least 1 assist. And Akimba Wawa. Good up and under that time.
Yeah, she's you can tell she understands the game, but the speed of the game in the SEC is the challenge for her right now.
And just a freshman. Boston sets the screen for me here. Levy doing everything she can, and that's a little too much that time, trying to box out Aaliyah or block off Aaliyah Boston.
And that to me is a defensive mistake. You don't have to be that aggressive when the ball is outside. The ball handler was not looking inside, so you relax. You relax on the defender, and if you're going to go against Boston, you have to play it a little bit smarter with her ability there to, just like that in a crowd, to catch and shoot.
There's not a lot you can do about that,
but don't
Coach.
upset her. The key is be nice to her.
And she's now got 8 points, 8 rebounds, looking for her 9th consecutive double-double. Down the lane, Boston can't finish. Fletcher pushing the pace. Corner 3. Breezy Hall can't get it to fall. And a jump ball would have belonged to Auburn. Akimba Lawa has played close to 20 minutes tonight. Just her 7th game. There's Destiny Henderson. She was running the point this time a year ago for South Carolina, made the trip. She told Coach Staley she wanted to come to the LSU game, came in town this week and said, why don't you come with us to Auburn?
That's great where you can have former players come back that are successful at the next level. That just helps your program and instills an inspiration in your team right now, your team members, to strive for that ability to go to the next level.
Good thought that time from honestly Scott Grayson trying to bounce it to Kimbalawa. By the way, Kimbalawa has played now a career high in minutes tonight. The previous career high was also against South Carolina when she had 13, but she's played 20 minutes tonight, and we're still in the third quarter.
It's a short bench over there.
Yes, it
Auburn,
is.
So.
Bree Hall called for the foul. It's the fourth foul in South Carolina in this quarter. Scott Grayson. Pratchett tries to set up down low. Bostic turns it over. Fletcher, full head of steam, ripped away by Scott Grayson, who's got her feet out of bounds.
Great play by, honestly, Scott Grayson not to give up. And Fletcher, as we mentioned before, is playing with a renewed energy to take the ball to the basket and attack and share it with her teammates. And she doesn't want to let Johnson get in that game.
Cardozo off
Just
balance
a smile
shot,
on her
but
face. Yeah, she goes down.
at the buzzer, Shaw got it off, and it's high off the glass, and that'll end the third quarter. South Carolina stretches their lead out to 27. 10 minutes to play on the Plains. South Carolina 23-0, undefeated in 2022-23, and a couple of remaining unbeatens going toe-to-toe on Sunday afternoon in Columbia, 2 o'clock on ESPN. And you compare and contrast those two resumes, they look pretty dead even. I know LSU has caught some flack for their schedule not being quite as difficult as some other teams, but they're going to get the toughest opponent in the country right now, the reigning national champions in South Carolina on Sunday.
Well, all I have to do is look at their success in the SEC, and that conversation is out the window. But what you look at is South Carolina's wins on the road.
Yes.
And that settles the argument of who they are and who LSU is trying to be right now. But it'll be decided on Sunday.
And a pretty lengthy streak at the top of the AP poll could be on the line this Sunday as well for South Carolina. 33 straight weeks, #1 in the AP, 4th all time. And obviously we all know about Connecticut's success. And Louisiana Tech too, Coach. If memory serves, you guys had a pretty big win over Louisiana Tech back in your day.
We did. In the semifinals of the Final Four, we had found a way to defeat them at Knoxville, and it was a big win for us. But great program. At that time, it was Leon Barmore who was leading the way. But right now, South Carolina is setting standards for South Carolina. They're setting it for the SEC, and they're setting it for the nation. This team is impressive. I've been around the game a long time, and the team, the composition of this team, the grittiness, how they play the game defensively, but more importantly, how they share the ball offensively is very impressive.
South Carolina with now 16 assists on 26 buckets. And those 16 assists, Coach, have come from 8 different players. And there's another one inside to Aaliyah Boston. And
Boston decided, she looked at the stat sheet and she says, I got to get into double figures here.
Well, she's now got 10 points. Again, 8 straight double-doubles. She needs 2 more rebounds.
And 8 rebounds, so you'll see her pick it up a little bit.
Kimbalawa inside, faces up on Cardoso. Tough assignment for the freshman. And that rebound to Amihir. That's Asia.
But just Boston in a high post creates so many defensive issues for Auburn right now. But she catches it, she can put it on the floor, but more importantly, she makes good decisions with the ball.
And a foul called underneath. It's going to be on Caitlin Duhan. And a timeout on the floor. Auburn calls timeouts. We'll step aside. Just over a minute into the fourth quarter. South Carolina on their way to another SEC win. The SEC's leading scorer, Angel Reese, and LSU undefeated. She's been one of the most sensational scorers in the country this year, 5th in the nation, and LSU undefeated. Going to be quite the showdown with the Tigers' high-powered offense going up against the South Carolina defense. And boy, she hits a few of those circus shots, a little bit of the tongue wag as well, Coach. She's a special player.
She definitely will be a hard guard, but as you saw, she has to create so many scoring opportunities for herself that the rest of the team better show up for LSU to help them, especially going to South Carolina, because the South Carolina team consistently gets the good shot, takes the smart shot, and breaks you down at your offensive end of the floor.
There's Aaliyah Boston on the bench. You saw the average in a double-double number. But keep in mind, she's doing that playing less than 25 minutes a night. So Boston on the bench still needs those 2 rebounds to extend that double-double streak. But a 31-point lead after Meeher hits those 2 free throws. Duhan curling in. What are some positives you've seen from Auburn tonight? You know, things they can build on, even if it's individual efforts.
Well, you're seeing your young ball players looking for their shots and understanding their shots have to come off the dribble because South Carolina's defense is breaking you down. But from that standpoint, taking good shots and hanging, in the paint with them. Your bench points are pretty close, but they're understanding that the speed of the game that South Carolina plays with it breaks you down, the opponent down, and they've got to find a way to play at this speed because you have to make quick decisions with the ball and then how you shoot it at this speed.
And a turnover.
And as I say, that South Carolina's turned over by Auburn.
Olivia Thompson has checked in for South Carolina, senior from Lexington, South Carolina. Jumper off the backboard, fed ahead to Fagan, can't finish. Kayla Johnson corrals the loose ball. Johnson pops. Won't go. Pratcher had the rebound, but it belongs to Ashlyn Watkins. Meeher through contact. Watkins an offensive board. And it'll stick with South Carolina. Last touch by Auburn.
No matter who's on the floor for the South Carolina team, they're still going to the glass.
Yes.
And they're searching for the ball. So many ball players would reach for the ball, but they attack and seek the ball.
Bostic checks in along with Levy and Carissa Richardson. Pratcher, Duhan, and Akimbo Lawa take a seat.
South Carolina will go with the flat out of bounds on the baseline to take advantage of their height.
Fagan puts it on the floor, and a foul away from the ball. It's going to be on Kayla Johnson.
Once again, an easy call for Decanter, just arm wrestling with the offensive player. You look at advantage, disadvantage. Well, you're putting that offensive player at disadvantage with shoving from the back as they were whistled for.
Good active hands from Bostic. Watkins faces up Levy, goes to the block, and a great floater.
Always under control. That's the South Carolina team. Their post players shoot it on balance and under control. They never play too fast.
Gamecock shooting over 50% from the floor tonight. And Sydney Shaw now with an SEC career high, 13 points on 5 buckets tonight. Fagan going to work on Richardson. She is gifted offensively.
She certainly is. And great footwork and great catch of the pass. Running down the floor to catch and slow down and make a pivot and kiss it off the glass.
Bostic gets a step on a Meeher. Gets the roll. She's got some quickness in her back pocket.
She certainly does, and she has to learn how to change speeds to make be a little bit more effective with her shooting.
That's something that comes with experience more than anything else.
It certainly will. I mean, she's a great defensive ball player. She can guard in space.
And reaches in and forces a jump ball that time.
Good instincts. You know, young ball players that, you know, sort of reach in to get in foul trouble, but Marshawn Bostic has quick feet also with those hands, and she's moving both to be successful at the defensive end.
Johnson heads to the bench.
And Sydney Shaw, who doesn't like to play point, is at the point.
Reaches around Fagan, reverse, too strong. Watkins on the board. Bree Hall draws the foul, no shot. It's going to be on Honesty Scott Grayson. 6 minutes to play here in the fourth quarter. South Carolina shooting 50% here in the second half. Watkins baseline. First look, second look, third tries the charm for Bree Hall, sophomore from Dayton, Ohio. Getting a little more run here tonight than she did against Connecticut when she played only 4 minutes. Gamecocks had a 12-point lead at the end of the first quarter, over 20 points at halftime. Shaw's jumper won't fall. Fagan the rebound. And look at Fagan go. Has it jarred loose, saves it. Thompson, wing three. Scott Grayson the board. Tigers won 3 straight in SEC play. Sydney Shaw now with 16 points. That ties her career high. And a whistle here on the floor. Are they looking it's a 2 or a 3 here?
Yes, it's a 2.
So like I say, your foot was on the line, so I beg your pardon. It's not going to match her career high. So that gives her 15 points. That is tied for her career high now.
She's got game.
Yes.
She basically has game, and you've got to cultivate that.
Fagan, jumper outside the lane, won't go. And a foul on the floor. Levy with some contact, helped up by her teammate. She and Watkins going at it. It's going to be a foul on Romy Levy.
Is it on Levy? Mm-hmm. I'm letting you call this one because I'm 0 for 2.
Although Watkins a little off balance maybe there in midair. Leaves it short. Swatted from behind. And that time a shooting foul on Marshawn Bostic. So I put Watkins at the line. Pressure from Columbia. Did not play on Sunday against UConn. Two points tonight. Southern Hoops, a history of SEC basketball, is our 7-part documentary, and every Monday through March 13th, we'll have a new show at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. Part 3 looks at 1971 through 1979. Dale Brown's arrival at LSU. Pat Summitt begins her career at Tennessee in 1974 at 22 years old. And after the death of Adolph Rupp, Joe B. Hall leads Kentucky to their first national title in 20 years. These have been amazing so far, and this one's going to be incredible as well. It's right over on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. Coach, I got a feeling you might be featured in Part 4.
Is that a good feeling or a half a feeling?
I think that's a good feeling. I think that's a good feeling. You're tuning in.
It's a good chance.
Yeah, I think so.
But I'm sorry, I never mentioned your name.
I think I'm in like the epilogue.
Oh, there you go.
Is what it is. Yeah, and there's Coach Harris talking to Honesty Scott Grayson, Sydney Shaw, some smiles on their faces, trying to continue to take those steps towards building the program.
It's a process. And like Coach Staley said, 3 years for her to build that foundation and get players in there that believed in her and her system. And then you cultivate it from that standpoint. And wins help.
Well, and to be fair to Coach Harris as well, I think Coach Staley would even mention this. You know, Auburn, or South Carolina, when she arrived, you know, it wasn't an NCAA tournament team, but they were coming off a couple of postseason appearances, the WNIT. On the Auburn side of things, that was a much different situation.
Yes, it was.
So, you know, probably a slightly taller climb, longer climb for Auburn to get back to the NCAA tournament.
But then on the other side, 15 years ago, you didn't have a transfer portal.
Yes.
So you can have instant success to a point.
True, very true.
And who mentioned the NIL? I didn't. You have that also. So.
Yes. No, and on the flip side of that, not only can you turn it around faster, it makes sustaining that much more difficult. Everything's much more fragile in this era of college sports. Shaw, catch and shoot. Akimbo Lawa. Good take down the left side. She's now got 6 points.
And just seeing, not judging anything but her footwork and her shooting touch, the young lady needs more minutes.
Olivia Thompson cashes in a 3. Yeah, that's a new career high, by the way, for Akimbo Lawa tonight with those 6 points.
I can see her, just see her. She's playing with a little bit more confidence in her ability to catch and shoot and be in position to attack the rim.
Bostic weaving past me here, taking on Fagan, and Fagan swats it away. The other way, Scott Grayson and Shaw knock it loose, but Sanaya Fagan on the other end of the floor cashes in an easy 2.
As I mentioned, 5 people. You saw every South Carolina player over midcourt going for that loose ball and anticipating their teammate missing the shot and trying to rebound it.
And I have a hunch Coach Staley is even more satisfied with what Fagan did on the defensive end there. That's where her biggest area of improvement lies, is defensively.
Well, if you want to play for Coach Staley, you want to get your minutes. It starts at that end of the floor.
So a foul on Sanaya Fagan there. There is Coach Staley, 2 minutes and 42 seconds away from officially setting another South Carolina record, breaking a record she and her program set a couple years ago with their 30th consecutive win.
And I think I'm safe to say there'll be more records broken in South Carolina.
I feel confident as well. Well, the bar is high now. A couple national championships already, and an offensive foul on Bree Hall drawn by Carson McFadden, who's just checked into the game for the first time tonight.
Just checked in and had the courage to hold her ground.
Well, she didn't have much time left to get up into game speed, so no better way to get introduced to the flow of play than by taking an offensive foul. Time to shoot. And me here and Bostic going back and forth here. Bostic gets a step on her again and looking for McFadden on the kick out. Good hands by me here. Floated ahead to Fagan, can't finish. Pratcher the board. Nearly stolen away, but South Carolina cruising to what would be yet another 30-point victory potentially, although Auburn's still a chance they can get a few quick buckets. Again, 90-plus seconds away from setting a new school record. Bostic with the lay-in.
But she was determined.
Yes.
She was going to find a way to get it to the paint, and give her credit. The grittiness that she's shown in terms of running the point and trying to create scoring opportunities for her teammates, but more importantly for herself. And then at the defensive end, she just competes every possession.
Coach Staley, looking to see her team finish this off the right way before heading home for a big showdown on Sunday afternoon against number 3 LSU. Ami here off the inbounds, count the basket, and she'll go to the line.
It's great offensive IQ to catch, split, with great footwork, split the defenders, get to the weak side, and kiss it off the glass and draw a foul.
Be here trying to complete the three-point play. And Auburn basketball from this free throw. One minute to play. Duhan can't finish at the glass, and it'll belong to South Carolina. And the Gamecocks, 35-point lead here. If they pull off a 30-point win tonight, as you look at their schedule coming up, number 3 LSU at ESPN or on ESPN, and Florida at home, who lost at home to Mississippi State tonight. Then heading on the road to Ole Miss and Tennessee. Those are a number of teams that are in the top of the SEC standings.
And as you mentioned, Florida loses at home. Good win for Mississippi State on the road. Sam Purcell and his Bulldogs.
This three-pointer, Duhan, with 20 seconds left. But if South Carolina wins by 30, looks like they're going to. It'll be the 13th game they've won by 30 or more points this year. And through 24 games, that's the second most 30-point wins in SEC history, behind only the 1986-87 Auburn Tigers, led by one Joe Champion.
Great memories.
But tonight belongs to South Carolina. They set a new school record with their 30th straight win. They haven't lost a game since last year's SEC tournament, and they will enter Sunday's showdown against number 3 LSU, undefeated thus far in the 2022-23 season.
Very impressive game tonight with their ability just to control the tempo of the game with their defensive effort, then offensively, the speed of the game to run the floor and secure easy baskets for this team.
11 different Gamecocks with points tonight. They collect 50 rebounds and post 83 points, including 20 in the fourth quarter. Well, Coach, it's always a pleasure. For Coach Joe Champion, I'm Wiley Ballard saying so long from Auburn. The final score, South Carolina 83, Auburn 48. Remember to tune in to SEC Network Plus Thursday at 8 Eastern, 7 Central to see the Auburn Tigers host the Texas A&M Aggies. To watch this game and others in their entirety, visit the ESPN app or watch ESPN.com.